watching Israel's real-time starvation technique as they continue to cleanse and exterminate the Palestinians makes me think about this interview I heard on NPR radio out here in L.A., Southern California, where I'm at. It was about 10 years ago. It was a radio interview, but the show that I was listening to, hosted by Larry Mantle, a very great local L.A. NPR longtime radio host. He was down in downtown L.A. on Skid Row. And he was where, if you don't know, Skid Row is one of the worst areas for homelessness in the whole country. And in LA, it's where most of the homeless are at, concentrated. It's called Skid Row. It's like 4 or 5 blocks of just homeless people compact in one area. It's been like that for decades, unfortunately. So he was down at one of the humanitarian offices that take care of the homeless when they can, with food and beds to sleep in and aid, medical aid, things like that. So they were down there interviewing different people that were on Skid Row and trying to get off Skid Row. And Larry interviewed a bunch of people, but he interviewed this lady last. And she had been on Skid Row for a long time, and she had a lot of problems with drugs, being on and off drugs, and trying to get herself clean and just living on the streets as a woman for decades. Well, I don't know if it's decades, but for a very long time. But what was interesting about this interview was how it ended. It was like the whole segment was about half hour or 45 minutes. And the very last question of the last person was with Larry and this woman. And I'm paraphrasing, but he set it up by asking her, like, well, look, you've been on the streets, you've been on and off drugs. I mean, just what do you want to say? And what would you say to people that are listening, and about yourself, and how do you feel, and moving forward, how is it to be in this situation? And she answered it by saying, yes, I've had all of that happen to me, but what's the hardest part of this on a day-to-day basis, Larry, is finding food to eat. That is what I struggle with the most. That is what I struggle with the most. There's days where I don't eat. There's days that I don't eat. And that's the biggest part of my struggle. And there was silence after that. And then he ended the show. And that stuck with me. This was like 9 years ago when I heard the interview, but that stuck with me. Despite drugs and everything that goes on with living on the street, starvation, food is the biggest hurdle.